Mrs. Eleanor Hartley had lived at 42 Maple Street for 53 years. The last 30 of those years she had lived completely alone. No visitors. No family. No friends coming by. Just her and the house. A house that nobody had been inside for 3 decades. The neighbors knew her only as the old woman who never left, who sat in her window watching the street, who collected her mail at exactly 9 a.m. every morning, who kept her curtains drawn, who never spoke to anyone. The mysterious woman at number 42. Before we continue with Mrs. Hartley's story, if you love emotional true stories that will leave you speechless, please hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. Your support means everything. Now let's discover what the neighbors found inside that house. Eleanor was 87 years old. She had moved to Maple Street with her husband Henry in 1970. They were young then. Henry was 34. Eleanor was 31. Full of dreams. Full of plans. Full of certainty that life would be everything they hoped. Henry was a teacher. High school English. He loved literature. Would quote Shakespeare and Dickens. Made his students actually care about dead poets. He was beloved. Students remembered him decades later. The teacher who changed their lives. Who made them love reading. Who saw potential in every kid. Eleanor was a nurse. Pediatrics. She had wanted to be a mother since she was a child herself. Nursing was the next best thing. Taking care of children. Helping them heal. She was gentle. Patient. The kind of nurse kids requested by name. The one who made shots not hurt. Who sang while changing bandages. Who made hospital stays bearable. They had bought the house with their combined savings. It was small. 2 bedrooms. 1 bathroom. A tiny kitchen. But it was theirs. Their first real home. They painted the walls together. Chose curtains. Planted flowers in the front yard. Henry built a bookshelf. Eleanor sewed cushions for the couch. They made it home. And they planned for children. The second bedroom would be a nursery. They picked out paint colors. Blue or pink. They would wait to see. They talked about names. Henry liked classical names. Eleanor liked modern ones. They compromised on a list. A list they would never need. But the children never came. Years of trying. Years of hoping. Month after month of disappointment. Eleanor cried every time her period came. Every time another month passed without pregnancy. She felt broken. Defective. Like her body was failing at the one thing it was supposed to do. They went to doctors. So many doctors. Tests. Procedures. Painful, invasive procedures. The doctors found problems. Endometriosis. Blocked tubes. Low sperm count. A combination of issues that made natural pregnancy unlikely. Possible but unlikely. They tried treatments. Medications that made Eleanor sick. Hormones that made her emotional. Procedures that were expensive and painful. Nothing worked. Every treatment failed. Every hope died. They talked about adoption. Filled out applications. Went to interviews. Got approved. Waited for placement. Waited years. And then Henry turned 45. Too old for infant adoption, the agencies said. They could take an older child. A teenager. But Henry and Eleanor had wanted a baby. Wanted to raise someone from the beginning. Wanted the whole experience. So they stopped trying. Accepted it. Childless. Just the 2 of them. Forever. They told each other it was okay. That they had each other. That they were enough. And mostly it was true. Mostly they were happy. But there was always a shadow. Always a room that stayed empty. Always a loss they carried. Henry died in 1993. March 15th. A Monday. He had been at school. Teaching Macbeth to seniors. Was in the middle of explaining the tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow speech. About how life is meaningless, sound and fury signifying nothing. He collapsed mid-sentence. Heart attack. Massive. The students called 911, tried CPR, did everything right. But Henry was gone. Died right there in his classroom surrounded by teenagers and Shakespeare. Eleanor was at work when she got the call. The principal. Voice shaking. Mrs. Hartley, you need to come to the hospital. It's Henry. There's been an incident. Eleanor knew. Before she even got there she knew. The tone of voice. The careful words. He was gone. She saw him in the emergency room. They had tried to save him. His shirt was cut open. Electrode marks on his chest. But he was gone. Had been gone before the ambulance arrived. Eleanor held his hand. Still warm. Still Henry. But not. The essential thing that made him Henry was gone. Just a body left behind. The funeral was 3 days later. Packed. Henry had touched so many lives. Former students came. Some in their 40s now. Crying for the teacher who had changed them. Current students came. Devastated. Colleagues spoke. Called him a legend. A master teacher. A friend. Eleanor sat in the front row. Numb. Surrounded by people who loved Henry. But nobody loved him like she did. Nobody had lost what she had lost. After the funeral, people came to the house. Brought food. Offered condolences. Promised to check on her. Said she shouldn't hesitate to call if she needed anything. Eleanor nodded. Thanked them. Went through the motions. But inside she was screaming. Screaming that they didn't understand. That Henry was everything. That without him there was nothing. That she didn't want to check in or call or have visitors. She wanted Henry. Only Henry. And Henry was gone. People left. Eventually. The food sat uneaten. The casseroles rotted in the fridge. Eleanor didn't eat. Barely drank. Just sat in Henry's chair. Smelled his cologne. Touched his things. Tried to feel close to him. Tried to make sense of a world without him. A week after the funeral, Eleanor's sister called. Asked how she was doing. Eleanor said fine. The sister said she should come visit. Get out of the house. Be around family. Eleanor said maybe later. The sister said she was worried. Eleanor said don't be. Hung up. Unplugged the phone. She didn't want to talk. Didn't want company. Didn't want anything but to be left alone with her grief. She stopped going to work. Called in sick. Then stopped calling. They sent someone to check on her. Eleanor didn't answer the door. Eventually they sent her termination papers. 30 years of nursing. Gone. She didn't care. Work meant nothing without Henry. Everything meant nothing without Henry. The first year was the worst. Eleanor barely functioned. Barely survived. She ate when hunger became pain. Showered when she couldn't stand her own smell. Otherwise she just existed. Sat in the house. Surrounded by Henry's things. Talking to him. Asking him to come back. Begging the universe to undo this. To give him back. To let her wake up and have it all be a nightmare. But he never came back. And it wasn't a nightmare. It was reality. Cruel, endless reality. Eleanor started to understand that this was forever. That Henry was never coming home. That she would never see him again. Never touch him. Never hear his voice. That understanding nearly killed her. She thought about suicide. Constantly. Pills. Henry's old medication was still in the cabinet. She could take them all. Fall asleep. Join him. But something stopped her. Fear maybe. Or some stubborn instinct to survive. Or the thought that Henry would be disappointed. He would want her to live. To be happy. To move on. But she couldn't. Couldn't imagine being happy. Couldn't imagine moving on. Moving on meant leaving Henry behind. Meant accepting he was gone. She wasn't ready for that. Would never be ready. The neighbors remembered when it happened. Remembered the ambulance. The funeral. People coming and going for a week. Linda had been one of them. had brought a lasagna, had knocked on the door. Eleanor had answered. Barely. Just opened the door a crack, taken the casserole, said thank you in a voice like broken glass, closed the door. Linda had felt dismissed, had thought Eleanor was rude, ungrateful, never tried again. Other neighbors had similar experiences. Offers of help rebuffed, invitations declined. Eventually everyone stopped trying. Eleanor withdrew completely, stopped going out, stopped answering the door, stopped engaging with the world. She became a ghost in her own house, a presence felt but never seen. The curtains moved sometimes, the lights turned on and off, but Eleanor herself became a mystery. And then the transformation began. Slowly, gradually, Eleanor started filling the walls, started printing every photo she had of Henry. She had thousands. She had documented everything, every birthday, every holiday, every random moment. They had been married 30 years. 30 years of photographs. She printed them all, covered the walls, living room, kitchen, bedroom, hallway, every surface, until Henry looked at her from every angle, until she was surrounded by him, until the house became a temple to his memory. And she wrote notes on sticky paper, on index cards, on torn paper from journals, little messages to Henry, about her day, about missing him, about counting days since he left. She stuck them between the photos. Hundreds, thousands. The walls became a conversation. Eleanor talking to Henry, Henry smiling back from photographs. A one-sided dialogue that lasted 30 years. 30 years. The neighborhood changed around her. Young families moved in, watched their children grow, watched them leave for college, became grandparents. Meanwhile, Eleanor stayed frozen, trapped in 1993, the year Henry died, the year her life stopped. People tried at first. Neighbors knocked on her door, brought casseroles, offered help, but Eleanor never answered, never engaged. Eventually, people stopped trying. She became just part of the landscape. The weird old lady at number 42. The one you didn't bother. Children made up stories. Said the house was haunted. Said Mrs. Hartley was a witch. Said terrible things had happened in there. Parents told them to stop being silly. But even adults wondered, what was in that house? Why did she never let anyone in? What was she hiding? The mail carrier was the only person who saw her regularly. Every morning at 9 a.m. Eleanor would open her door just enough to retrieve her mail. She never spoke, just took the mail and closed the door. The mail carrier tried to engage her over the years. Good morning, Mrs. Hartley. Nice day today. How are you? But Eleanor never responded, never even made eye contact. Social services had been called multiple times over the years. Concerned neighbors worried about elder neglect, about hoarding, about mental illness. Social workers came, knocked, called through the door, but Eleanor never answered. And legally they couldn't force entry unless there was evidence of immediate danger. An old woman choosing to live alone wasn't a crime. Strange but not illegal. Then one Tuesday morning Eleanor didn't come for her mail. The mail carrier noticed. After 30 years of perfect routine, the break was jarring. He knocked on the door, called out. No answer. He left the mail in the box. Thought maybe she was sick. Would try again tomorrow. Wednesday. No Eleanor. Mail piling up. The mail carrier knocked harder. Still no answer. He called the police. Told them something was wrong. An old woman who never missed mail pickup for 30 years had now missed 2 days. The police came. Knocked. Called through the door. Mrs. Hartley? Can you hear us? We need to know you're okay. Silence. They looked in the windows. Curtains drawn. Couldn't see anything. They called for a welfare check authorization. Got permission to force entry. By this time neighbors had gathered. Word spread fast on Maple Street. The police were breaking into Mrs. Hartley's house. The house nobody had entered in 30 years. Everyone was curious. Everyone wanted to know what was inside. 2 officers forced the front door. It was locked from inside. 3 deadbolts. A chain. Mrs. Hartley had been serious about keeping people out. The wood splintered. The door opened. The officers stepped inside and froze. One of them actually gasped, called for backup immediately. Within minutes more police arrived. Then paramedics. Then a social worker. Then someone from City Hall. Everyone who entered the house had the same reaction. Shock, disbelief, horror, or something like it. Because the house wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't hoarded, wasn't filthy, wasn't full of trash or decay or evidence of mental illness. It was the opposite. It was frozen in time, perfectly preserved. Like a museum. Like a shrine. The living room looked like 1993. The year Henry died. Furniture from that era. Decorations. A calendar on the wall stopped at March 1993. Henry's reading glasses on the side table. His book marked with a bookmark. His slippers by the chair. Like he had just stepped out and would be back any moment. The kitchen was the same. Clean. Organized. But dated. Appliances from the early 90s. A newspaper on the table from March 15, 1993. The day Henry died. His coffee cup still on the counter. Washed but not put away. The bedroom was perhaps the most heartbreaking. The bed was made. But only one side had been slept in for 30 years. The other side pristine. Untouched. Henry's clothes still in the closet. His shoes lined up. His watch on the dresser. His cologne. Everything exactly as he had left it. But it was the walls that made everyone freeze. Made officers with 20 years' experience tear up. Made the hardened paramedics swallow hard. The walls were covered. Every single wall. Floor to ceiling. With photographs. Thousands of them. All of the same man. Henry. At different ages. Different places. Different moments. Their wedding. Vacations. Birthdays. Random Tuesday afternoons. A life documented in exhaustive detail. And between the photos were notes. Handwritten. In Eleanor's shaky script. Little messages. I miss you. Come back. It's been 5,342 days. I still love you. Why did you leave me? Thousands of notes. Covering 30 years. A diary of grief written on walls. They found Eleanor in the bedroom. On her side of the bed. Dressed. Shoes on. Like she had been about to get up. But she hadn't. She had died. Peacefully. In her sleep. Finally joining Henry after 30 years of waiting. The paramedics checked for vitals. Confirmed what everyone knew. She was gone. Had been gone for probably 2 days. The coroner estimated she died Sunday night. Went to sleep and didn't wake up. A peaceful end to a life consumed by grief. The police searched the house. Protocol for a death. Found no signs of foul play. No neglect. No hoarding. Just a woman who had stopped living in 1993. Who had preserved everything exactly as it was. Who had been waiting. Always waiting. For Henry to come home. They found journals. Dozens of them. Eleanor had written every day for 30 years. The entries were heartbreaking. Simple at first. March 16, 1993. Day 1 without Henry. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be me without him. But as years passed, the entries became more desperate. More unhinged. Year 5. Day 1825. I see him sometimes. In shadows. In dreams. I hear his voice calling me. I know it's not real, but I want it to be. I need it to be. Year 10. Day 3650. People think I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But crazy feels better than accepting he's gone. If I accept it, that makes it real. If I keep the house the same, keep everything exactly as it was, maybe time will reverse. Maybe he'll walk through that door. I know that's insane. But hope is all I have. Even insane hope is better than no hope. Year 15. Day 5475. I'm old now. 72. Henry would be 79. Would he still love me? Would he recognize this old woman I've become? I haven't changed the house, but I've changed. My body betrayed me. Got old without him. That feels wrong. We were supposed to age together. Supposed to have matching gray hair and matching wrinkles. Instead, I aged alone. And he stayed young. Forever young in these photographs. Forever the Henry the First remember. Year 20. Day 7300. 20 years. 20 years of waiting. 20 years of being alone. I thought it would get easier. Everyone said it would. Time heals all wounds, they said. But they lied. Time doesn't heal. Time just makes you forget how to live. I don't remember how to talk to people. Don't remember how to exist in the world. This house is all I know. These photographs. These notes. This frozen moment is my entire universe. Year 25. Day 9125. I'm 82. How am I still alive? How is my body still functioning when my soul died 25 years ago? I don't eat much. Don't exercise. Don't take care of myself. But I keep living. Keep breathing. Keep existing. For what? For who? There's no purpose. No reason. Just habit. Just the stubbornness of a body that doesn't know it should quit. Year 30. Day 10,950. 30 years today. Henry died 30 years ago today. I've now lived longer without him than with him. That seems impossible. Wrong. How can the absence be longer than the presence? How can the after be bigger than the during? I'm so tired. So very tired. Maybe soon I'll stop being tired. Maybe soon I'll see him again. That's all I want. Just to see him one more time. To tell him I waited. I never moved on. I never forgot. I stayed exactly where we were, waiting for him to come home. The last entry was dated the day she died. Sunday, March 14th, 2023. Tomorrow is 30 years and 1 day. 30 years since Henry left. I'm ready now. Ready to follow. Ready to stop waiting. I've been good. I kept the house. Kept the memories. Kept myself in that moment. Now I want to move forward. Not in life. In death. Forward to wherever Henry is. I'm coming, Henry. Finally. I'm coming home. They found letters. Unsent. Addressed to Henry. Hundreds of them. Telling him about her day. About the neighborhood. About how much she loved him. About how she couldn't go on without him. But she had gone on. For 30 years. She had gone on. The neighbors were shocked. One woman, Linda, who had lived next door for 15 years, started crying. I thought she was just a mean old woman. I had no idea. I should have tried harder. I should have helped her. The mail carrier stood on the porch looking at photos on his phone. Photos officers had taken. He shook his head. 30 years I saw her almost every day. 30 years and I never knew. Never really knew what she was going through. A social worker named Patricia examined the journals. This is profound grief, she said. Complicated grief. She never processed Henry's death. Never moved through the stages. Just got stuck. Stayed stuck. For 3 decades. This house was her prison and her sanctuary. The only place she could still feel close to him. The news spread. The strange old lady from number 42. The woman nobody knew. She became a story. Local news covered it. Woman lived alone for 30 years enshrined to dead husband. The internet picked it up. Photos of the walls covered in pictures and notes. Comments flooded in. Some sympathetic. some critical, some understanding. But the people who had lived on Maple Street felt different, felt guilty, felt like they had failed somehow. An old woman had been drowning in grief for 30 years right next to them, and nobody had saved her. Nobody had really tried. Linda organized a memorial, posted flyers, invited the neighborhood, expected maybe a dozen people. 50 showed up. People who had never met Eleanor, who had just heard her story, who felt compelled to acknowledge her, to honor her, to say her life mattered even if it had been defined by loss. At the memorial, people shared what little they knew. The mail carrier talked about her routine, how precise she was, how the one time he was late she had waited, had stood in the doorway for 20 minutes until he arrived, because routine was all she had. Structure was all that kept her going. He also shared something else, something he had never told anyone. I saw her cry once, he said, voice breaking. It was about 5 years ago. I was delivering mail. She opened the door as usual, but this time I saw her face clearly. She was crying, silent tears just streaming down her face. I asked if she was okay. She just looked at me, didn't say anything, just looked at me with the saddest eyes I've ever seen. And then she took the mail and closed the door. I think about that moment all the time. I should have done something, should have called someone, but I didn't. I just left her there, crying alone in that house. A teenager named Amy spoke. I used to think she was scary, used to dare my friends to knock on her door and run away. We called her the Witch of Maple Street, made up stories about her, said she ate children, said terrible things. I'm so ashamed now. She wasn't a witch. She was just sad, just lonely, just a person in pain. And we made it worse, made fun of her, tormented her. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Hartley. I'm so sorry we were cruel. You deserved kindness and we gave you fear. An older woman named Dorothy spoke. I was Eleanor's friend once, long ago, before Henry died. We were in a book club together, had coffee sometimes. She was lovely, funny, kind. When Henry died, I went to the funeral, brought food, tried to visit a few times after, but she stopped answering, stopped responding, and I stopped trying. I got busy with my own life, my own problems. I told myself she wanted to be alone, that she had made her choice. But maybe she needed me to try harder. Maybe she needed someone to not give up. I gave up, and I've regretted it for 30 years. I'm sorry, Eleanor. I should have fought for our friendship. Should have fought for you. Patricia, the social worker, spoke about grief, about how it affects people differently. Some people move through it, process it, heal. Others get stuck, can't move forward, can't let go. Eleanor was stuck, and our society doesn't know what to do with people who are stuck. We judge them, avoid them, call them crazy, but they're just hurt, deeply, profoundly hurt. The question became what to do with the house. Eleanor had no children, no family, no will. The state would take possession, probably sell it, clear it out, erase 30 years of grief preserved in photographs and notes. But Linda had an idea. She started a petition to turn the house into something meaningful, a grief support center, a place where people who were stuck like Eleanor could come, could get help, could avoid spending 30 years imprisoned by loss. The petition got thousands of signatures. The city agreed. The house at 42 Maple Street would become the Eleanor Hartley Grief Center. They would preserve one room as it was, the bedroom, the photographs, the notes, as a reminder, as a memorial, as a teaching tool. This is what unprocessed grief looks like. This is what happens when we don't reach out, when we don't help, when we let people slip through the cracks. The rest of the house would be renovated. Meeting rooms, counseling offices, a library of grief resources, a a quiet room for meditation, a place where people could come and not be alone, could share their pain, could learn to move forward without forgetting, could honor their dead without being consumed by death. 6 months after Eleanor died, the center opened. Linda spoke at the ceremony. Eleanor Hartley lived alone for 30 years. Suffered alone. Grieved alone. Nobody helped her. Nobody really tried. We can't change that. Can't bring her back. Can't give her the support she needed. But we can make sure it doesn't happen again. We can be a neighborhood that sees people, that reaches out, that doesn't let anyone suffer alone. That's Eleanor's legacy. Not the sad old lady at number 42, but the reminder that everyone is fighting a battle we know nothing about. And we need to care. We need to try. The center helped hundreds of people in its first year. Widows, widowers, parents who lost children, people stuck in grief who didn't know how to move forward. Counselors helped them process. Support groups helped them share. Slowly people healed. Not everyone. Not completely. But better. Less stuck. Less alone. And in the preserved bedroom people came. Looked at the photographs. Read the notes. Saw what grief unchecked looked like. Some cried. Some were angry. Some just stood silently. But everyone left understanding something. That grief is powerful. That loss can consume you. That we need each other. That isolation kills. That community matters. 2 years after Eleanor died, Linda was walking down Maple Street. She passed number 42. Now the Eleanor Hartley Grief Center. Saw people going in, coming out. Some crying. Some laughing. Some just talking. She thought about Eleanor. About how she had spent 30 years alone. How nobody had really known her. Really helped her. But now her house was full of people. Full of support. Full of healing. Eleanor had become in death what she never was in life. A bridge. A connection. A reason for people to come together. To care. To see each other. To help. Linda hoped Eleanor knew. Hoped that wherever she was with Henry. Finally. After 30 years of waiting. But also hoped she saw what her story had created. How her pain had purpose now. How her isolation had ended isolation for others. How the house that had been her prison was now freedom for hundreds. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories about grief, connection, and the power of community. Drop a comment below and let me know what city you're watching from. Have you ever known someone who was silently suffering? Have you ever been that person? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone who feels alone right now. Remember that the people who seem fine might be drowning. That the neighbors who keep to themselves might be crying behind closed doors. That everyone is fighting a battle we know nothing about. So reach out. Check on people. Don't assume they're okay just because they say they are. Be the person who sees, who cares, who tries. Because 30 years is too long to suffer alone. One day is too long. And we can do better. We must do better. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And remember, isolation kills slowly, quietly, invisibly. But connection heals. Community saves lives. A knock on the door might seem like nothing. But to someone suffering alone, it might be everything. Be someone's everything today.